Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Audit and Financial Sustainability Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. I'll now call the meeting to order. We acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Administrative and procedural issues 2.1. The motion is that the agenda be approved as presented for today's meeting. Somebody be so kind to make the motion. Moved by Councillor Lockhart, seconded by Councillor O'Telling. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. 2.2, that the minutes of the September 10th, 2025 Audit Committee meeting be approved. We have a motion for that, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gould, seconded by Councillor Fromm. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? The motion is carried. Thank you. 2.3, as per the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, members are required to declare a conflict of interest prior to any discussion on the matter. Business issues. 3.1, County of Cumberland Municipal Profile and Financial Indicators Report 2022-2023. Information on this item is included in your meeting package. Are we not talking about this? We're just going to move on. Doesn't say Amy.
Yeah, I'll make some.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Amy. It does not say this in my wording here that you're giving the floor to you, but I will now do so. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the package is quite sizable, but a large portion of it is these two reports. So there is included in your package the Municipal Profile and Financial Indicator Report for 22-23 and the draft Municipal Profile and Financial Indicator Report for 23-24. These are reports that come from the province based on our financial statements and information returns that we submit to the province, and then it consolidates the municipalities across the province to put together these reports. So I'll just kind of run through in general what's in those reports. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. There is a lot of information in them, but most of it we have reviewed when we did the audited financial statements in the last few years. So the first section of the report to about page 15 of your package, page 9 of the report, is the demographic information of our municipality. So it's an interesting read. And the second section goes into assessment information of the municipality. The third section is financial information, so that ties back to the financial statements and financial reports we have submitted. And then the last section is where I'm going to go into a small amount of detail. So this is the indicators, the financial indicators section. So for 22-23, it starts at page 26 of your package. So you'll see the green is low risk, the yellow is moderate risk, the red is high risk. So we want green as much as possible in most cases. So page 27 of your package, we are, as a municipality, low risk in actually both years of the report. There is one yellow risk, which is moderate, and that's the 3-year change in tax base. Not a whole lot of control over that, but we are yellow in both years. A lot of that comes from assessments, so not a ton of control, but that is the one indicator where the municipality is yellow at this time. Again, keeping in mind this is 22-23 and 23-24, so it's a couple years old. Then, so page 41 of your package and following, it goes into more information and details of each financial indicator. So if you wanted to dig into each of those indicators and what they mean. Are there any questions on that report, those reports?
So that yellow indicator, would that change to green if we raise our taxes closer to the change in CPI? Is that sort of what they're getting at?
It would, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I guess.
Which?
The change in tax base.
So are we on, which one are we referring to, 22, 23? And so the yellow indicator, the 3-year change in tax base?
Yeah.
So that's not a rate indicator, it's a base indicator. So it's a rolling average of the assessment compared with other municipal assessments and CPI. It's really not one we have much control over, so raising our rate, with respect, raising our rate would not impact this.
How do you get
This is
it?
all about assessment.
Okay, so there's no way for us to make a change that can turn
Other
that green?
sorry. Yeah, other than attracting investment, there isn't. This is one of the indicators that is, there's a fair amount of discussion about it, just because it's a municipal indicator, and there isn't much opportunity to move the needle by municipal action or inaction, or for that matter. So I know that, you know, my colleagues around the province, we talk about this one a fair bit, just for that reason. So
Okay.
there is an indicator, if I could, there is an indicator that is reliant on the tax rate, and that's the residential tax effort. And so it goes through a calculation. Basically, is the where do we sit in terms of raising enough funds from the tax rate? And so the lower that is, so ours is 2.3, the lower that is, it would indicate that there's room to raise the tax rate to be closer to other municipalities. So the one on the right, residential tax effort, there is a lever you can pull with the tax rate. The other one is really what's handed to us from PBSC. Does that answer most of your question? Okay.
Thank you.
Unless there are other questions on that report, I'll move on. Okay. So the next item in the agenda and on your report is the general operating and expenditure report as of September 30th. So these are our quarter two statements for the municipality. This is on page 85 of your package, and I'm just going to find it here on my digital copy. You can see that revenue is over budget, about 2.6%, which is a good thing. The primary overage is in taxes, which is the deed transfer tax. So we're having another strong year with the deed transfer tax. And our transfers from own funds is also showing over budget. That is primarily the 300,000 transfer for the sunset contribution wasn't budgeted for, not knowing the timing of it. We had committed to it, but we didn't know the timing of it. So that is where that is. The own source revenue is also about 130,000 over budget due to interest on outstanding taxes, which is typically higher than we expect. Miscellaneous, which is the unsightly, so we've done some demos that weren't necessarily budgeted for. And camping fees, so we had a good year at Loose Caps, so those were higher than expected. The expenditures on that page, you will see, are about 0.4% under budget. So very close to budget on the expenditures. If you look further in the report, it goes into more details, and it comes down to general government and environmental health are over budget, and public health and recreation are under budget. So on page 91, general government is a little over budget on expenses, primarily in the grants. And this was, again, due to the offset of the sunset contribution, as well as in the budget, there was an extra cent for extra grants, and that has been spent. Environmental health, which is waste disposal, is over to budget due to some timing of some of the waste disposal. So in the summer and fall months, some of the tipping fees are higher. And it was also discovered there was a budgeting error for non-recoverable HST on one of our contracts. So there's a little bit of overage there due to that. Public health is under budget, and we budgeted for debt payments for Sunset, but they have actually assumed making those payments directly, so those are no longer flowing through our books. So that's why that's under budget.
We also budget for a revenue item on that side
Correct.
that isn't there as well, so that's a wash, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And recreation on page 93 is under budget, primarily in the programs area. And this is primarily due to some of the summer staffing that we aren't always able to fill the position for the whole time we initially planned to fill them. Then going further, pages 94 to 103 of the report details the expenses by cost center. I'm not going to go into detail on it unless there's questions. And page 104 does a summary of expenses by object. So it shows salaries, insurance, advertising as a summary. If there are any questions on that.
Deputy Mayor Gold, go ahead.
Your worship, thank you. So environmental health, that would be our tipping fees and stuff as well, included in that. So will we see any difference now that we've changed some of our pickups? Because we were picking up some that we aren't picking up now. Will that affect that line any at all?
It shouldn't, because the contract is still the contract.
It's a set amount, so it's not based on the amount they're picking up.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could just maybe summarize, and maybe Amy was going to do this. In general, this is second quarter, so it's up to September 30th. So the results are good. We're over budget. Deed transfer taxes helped out as it has every year. Every year we've taken a conservative approach, and it continues to outperform our conservative estimate. It's one of those things where we, you can't judge what the real estate market's going to do, and we try to take a conservative approach to budgeting for it. So when you combine the over budget and revenue, we're under in a few of the expenditure categories, over budget on some of our miscellaneous revenue. It's a good result. It's one that's not unexpected. Gives us a little bit of elbow room for the third and fourth quarters, where we get into, in some places, plowing snow and some of the things that go along with winter. So each year, we've been lucky enough in the last few years to have a surplus, and when that exists at the end of the year, we usually plow it back into capital projects, which is a nice way to be able to do it. We've consistently been able to do that. So it's this second quarter results that are important in terms of decision making with respect to the budget. So if, for example, we had experienced an area where we were over budget and it was unexpected and everything else was holding the same, it might be a place where we would need to take action to be able to cut expenses or raise more revenue to get us through to the end of the year to break even. We're fortunate enough, or maybe we're more than fortunate, maybe it's good management to get to a place where we're largely on budget, and the areas where we're over budget we can explain. So, all of those words to say, we don't think there are any major adjustments required for the operation for the last two quarters, and we'll see what the third quarter brings. We'll get those results probably at the end of January and see where we go from there. So this is good news. That's it.
Agreed. I can continue. So the next report in your package is the receivables tax and water reports that I try to bring regularly so that you get an update of where we're at. So the one that was sent to you was actually an older report. The one in the printed one you have in your package has a couple extra months on it. So none of the information was wrong. It just added a couple extra months. I attached the wrong report. I apologize. So you have the receivable information to the end of October actually here. You can see there's about 4 million in outstanding taxes from the current and prior year. About 2.4 million of that is the 25-26 years, the current year, on the tax levy, which was over 29 million. So we're at about 92% of the current year taxes collected. We're chasing the rest of them, but we're working on it. So this year, and if you look compared to last year, the end of October, we had about 4.3 million outstanding. So we're trending pretty well this year. And then the water receivables, there is about 400,000 outstanding in water at the end of October. There was a billing sent in early October for the second quarter water. The balance is higher than it would normally be at this time in the year due to the postal strike that was going on at the time, and the flooding, as we all know, in the post office in Spring Hill. So a lot of the Spring Hill bills were very delayed in getting delivered or haven't been picked up at all yet. So some of those bills are a little slower getting paid this quarter, but we are working diligently on getting the balances paid down. Typically, the water accounts do stay fairly current as as you all know, there is a process for water shutoff when accounts are not being paid. So water typically gets collected within 3 to 6 months of the billing, or we get mean about it. Are there any questions on the collection information?
Just a little bit of a heads up, I guess, thanks for this, Amy. We are working on some information for council that we'll get to you in the next month or so, maybe 2 months, in terms of cleaning up some old receivables. We've got a fairly healthy allowance for doubtful accounts, and which is a good thing, against some receivables that have been there for a while. And so we'll be bringing recommendation forward to the audit committee and to council sometime either in December or January to clean up some of these old accounts, to write off the ones that are uncollectible and reduce the allowance. We'll have a more fulsome conversation at that time about those specific accounts. But in general, we think we're in half decent shape. There still is some old holdover from, quite frankly, from the amalgamation, the dissolution of Parsbro, not so much Spring Hill, but Parsbro, with respect to some of these old accounts. And so we'll bring forward some recommendations for some write-offs. There are some accounts that we're simply not going to collect, and we've allowed for those, but we want to bring forward the recommendation to actually clean them up. So next couple of months we'll be doing that.
Just wondering, does this all mean that we won't need to increase the water rate, or is that something we don't know yet?
So really, these results here wouldn't reflect on that decision. This is simply whether we can collect the accounts or not. In most cases, this is the accounts that are outstanding. Whether we can, whether we need to raise the rates or not is really more a reflection of the operating results, so revenue less expenditures, which this isn't. This is just what's left over that hasn't been collected, or what the capital program looks like in terms of the investments that we'll need to make and what the debt related to that is. So that's more, that information is more relevant to whether we need to raise the rates or not. That answer your,
Yeah.
That answer your question? Good.
Okay, So speaking of the operating results, the order of this got out of order a little bit. So the water operating results for the Q2 are the next, it is the next report in the package. So you can see the revenue is about 1.2% over budget, so we're pretty much right on our budgeted revenue. And budgeted expenses were about 5% under budget. So right now, we're running an operating surplus at the end of September of about 75,000. So that drives the water rate a little more than the collection, as Greg mentioned. So far this year, it's looking okay.
So I think I said this last time we talked about water revenue as well. Maybe it was just when we were talking about the budget, if I might, Your Worship. We're pleasantly, I guess we'll go beyond pleasantly surprised. We're happy to see it continue. Water revenue being close to budget. There was a concern because we didn't have a full year's worth of knowledge of water consumption, particularly in Spring Hill, when we went to the new metering project, and we were interested, concerned, however you want to describe that with the meters in place, that we would presume that the usage would decline as folks became more of the realization that they can control their bill by reducing their usage. We thought we might see a bit of a dip in revenue, but again, thankfully, fortunately, however we want to describe that, the results have shown us that pretty close to budget. So that's a good thing. That is one of those things that would be considered, Councillor Hotelling, in terms of, you know, what the rates have to do. It's only one part of it, but it is an aspect of that. So anyway, we're happy to see that we continue to be on budget in water revenue, because it's one of the places where we kind of looked at with one eye before we saw the final results. So thank you.
So just back to the Spring Hill and the meters. So are we saying that the bills really haven't changed since they put the meters on, or people are saving a little bit of money, or how's?
That the budget assumptions we made were correct, and they weren't far from past revenues. So we based the budget on past revenues and kind of an estimate of usage. And we didn't see a big dip in revenues as a result of installing the meters. So having folks have the information in front of them and having the lever to be able to pull to control their water bill through their usage hasn't resulted in a big dip in revenue, which is good. Matter of fact, it stayed pretty solid.
Okay. So. Thank you. No, that's okay.
Before we went to the meter, Spring Hill was always running in a good surplus, correct? And we're still running in a...
The water utility?
The water, yeah.
Yep, that was the case, and actually, we've spent a lot of that surplus on,
Yeah.
You know, the Athol Road project and some of the Junction Road project, so that's gone, you know,
yes.
that's essentially gone, and I'm hoping that's the last time we'll talk about Pugwash surplus and Spring Hill surplus and Parsboro surplus or deficit or however, because now we're kind of going forward. But to that point, yes, there was a surplus that came to the amalgamated utility, but it's been invested in capital projects. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Nope.
Maybe not really a question for Amy, but just curious, we were talking about Spring Hill and more Justin probably, I just thought about that, but where are we at with people getting hooked up now? Are we pretty well there?
Do you have anything to say about that?
I can.
Go ahead,
Okay.
before I do.
There are a handful, I would say, of people that are not hooked up yet or don't have water meters installed, but I think we are most of the way there, from what I understand. There
I
are a
think,
few.
I think there remain a few accounts, but some of them, not all of them, would reflect, for example, seasonal residents who are just there for, who haven't been there since we hooked up. And when, or haven't been to their building or their residence for a year or two. And they won't have water until they hook up to a meter. So we think, as Amy said, that for most folks who are just day-to-day water users, regular residential customers, that we think we've captured most of those. There might be a few with some issues, a plumbing issue or that sort of thing where they're not hooked up and they would be continuing to have the flat bill. But the flat bill is well over $200. And so there certainly is per quarter. And the experience, I think the average bill is much lower than that. So the incentive certainly is there for people to hook up. So in general, to summarize, we think it's pretty good. Most people are hooked up. And the ones that aren't, usually there's pretty good reason why they're not. So, yeah.
Seem to remember this time last year, we were down 60. There was a number that just.
Yeah, it's a few dozen. It's not hundreds for sure. Yeah.
This might not be related to this at all, but with the droughts last summer, are we looking especially in Spring Hill where it's fed off the river, are we looking at any kind of backup plans for future droughts or?
So that's an excellent question.
No, this-
If I can begin to answer that, because we've lived, Justin and I and some others, Andrew Thomas, have lived what's the level in the brook today, every day since the middle of July. Happy to say that it's rebounded a bit. There seems to be a longer period between precipitation events where we see the level in the brook kind of creeping down a little bit, but it seems to be sustained back almost to the level where it needs to be. But that's with some precipitation, that's with lots of rain, that's with a little bit of snow, and so that was to be expected. All of that to say, it does, the drought conditions, which we kind of, if you talk to folks, if you listen to people around the province, we talk to emergency management officials and those sorts of things, we almost have to look forward to that condition as situation normal going forward. And so in Spring Hill in particular, the supply is, precarious is the wrong word, but one where we have to pay some attention to is the right word. So there is a backup well in Spring Hill, an old well at the top of the town on Princess Street. And if we were to bring that back into production as a
Water source.
yeah, sorry, Kathy, Councillor Redmond is gesturing to me and I'm not quite sure what. Oh, okay. If we were to bring that back into production as a backup, it is a well that, Justin would be proud of me, it is subject to the groundwater under direct influence rules, GUDI, he would call it if he were here, that's an engineering term. But, so we have to go through a process to get that well designated as one that we can, through regular chlorination procedures, bring back into production. So there's that. So we are beginning to work on that. That may well be reflected in the capital budget that we bring forward for the water utility. The other aspect of that is that in Spring Hill, in the water treatment plant and in the process at the water treatment plant of processing treated water, 30 or 40% of the water that we produce is used in what's called a backwash process. And I don't begin to be able to describe all of that other than to say it's to take an agent out of the water that we use to treat it. We want to be able to reduce that percentage somehow, and so we're looking at changing that process. It's not something that's going to happen in 2 or 3 months, but it's something we kind of have to keep our eye on. There's a few stakeholders, the Department of Environment, the Federal Fisheries Department, and so there's a few moving parts. So, again, excellent question, and there's a couple of elements of that, and we've got our eye on it for sure. So, thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. What's up next? 5? Date of next meeting? Does
Yeah.
anybody have a proposal for that? What's that?
I would say that it's probably a function of when we can get the financial statements ready for the third quarter. So late January, early February, we'll endeavor to send a note out for that before Christmas to let folks know when the meeting's going to be.
Perfect, thank you very much. Have a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gould, we are now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.